Hello everyone, my name is Rusty. I am a music producer, audio engineer, and artist. Today we're going to be taking a look at a song I produced for Sora, an artist that I've worked with in the past. This project here I started 2 years ago, and I originally intended it for my own projects. This song was started out as Future, as you can see by the project name. I came up with the spelling. And then Sora and I decided, or Sora asked me about it, and he wanted the song, so I finished it up for him. Now, a lot of the processes that I did in the song are 2 years old. I did do a little bit of touch up, but I mostly, after I finished the song 2 years ago, I mostly left it alone. I think I added one synth, and I added some sidechain compression, and that's about it. So really simple in terms of layering. We only have about 35 tracks of instruments and the rest are vocals. So we're just going to focus on those tracks for right now, and I'll go gloss over the vocal production here in a second. So the main thing is this first synth that we hear, which is a splice sample from Lag City. Yeah, and threw that into Melodyne, pulled out a MIDI, cleaned it up, added this synth, and then this synth. Both of these have OTT on them, just to kind of compress the dynamics a little bit. So the first section's pretty simple, added some drums, with some delay, just to kind of add some interesting textures. Then we had the build up. I wanted a pretty far departure from what we heard before, and I wanted it to be kind of a journey. So the main thing is these chords. It's like this ascending line, and it kind of descends, which also happens to follow the volume automation on the bass, which I find really interesting. I've been really back then I really enjoyed using live drum loops, and I still do actually. And that's just OTT to give it that fake but real, but also studio, but also OTT sound. Simple snare, simple bass pattern, and we're just layering up with about 4 synths. And then here's our lead. Pretty simple stuff, and then a sub. So like really simple music production on this track. So like you know, whenever I think about like writing music, I mean back then my stuff was very simple, and it shows, and it was very effective. And then we have the second verse. This is also a splice sample, and then just layered that up. So it's just, you know, more layering and build up again. Then we got the final chorus. So we're using the this MIDI note right here to compress the synths, sidechain compress the synths. I really like this plugin. It's really effective, super easy stuff. Then another thing, you know, you'll hear people talk about this all the time. Cut out everything that's not your low end. So that's what we did here. Cut out, you know, low end stuff. I did put some saturation to kind of brighten things up and give it a little bit more dirt. Yeah, so that's like really basic, like I guess mixing stuff in terms of like effects. You know, just doing the simple stuff can really go a long way. You can hear producers talk all the time about clearing up your low end, and it really does make a difference. I had some ear candy stuff. There's very little in terms of effects. I definitely use a lot more effects now. And then I used a lot of Andrew Huang's sparkle stuff, and I slowed it down a ton, and used complex stuff to create some new textures. Just in the background, and then in the end you can hear that. I think some of this is reversed, and then we have some chimes to give some ambience. So that's the track. It's really simple and pretty good stuff. Now let's talk about vocals really for a second. There's not too much going on in terms of vocal production. It's your pretty standard pop vocal production. For the main vocal, I did add Melodyne to be able to kind of finely tune some stuff. Threw into auto tune to kind of just make sure it's pitch corrected again. A de-esser, R channel, which is one of my favorite vocal plugins to use. It's an EQ compressor and gate. It's really nice. And then fresh air to brighten up the high end. Really simple stuff. And then we're also, sending it to return plates or return mixers for reverb and delay. You and me, we're a team, a ticking dream. So that's the main vocal. We do have this like reverbed out one right here. Just melody so far from me. The way I did that was use a convolution reverb and created a chain, so it kind of like sat underneath but still filled up the room kind of thing. The next thing we got going on, this is kind of where I took some artistic liberty a little bit, and this was just something I wanted to try, and it didn't seem to cause any issues. But I wanted the harmonies to sound like it was coming through a phone. I wanted it to kind of sound like it was coming through a phone, so what I did is I actually put a EQ on each of these that are cutting out the low end and bringing down the high end quite a bit. Something interesting, then we also have these vocals right here. Really in the background to just kind of add some ambiance, which is a technique that he uses again later that I really wanted to do. In this final section, after he hits this high note, he really wanted the section to be very reverby, very ethereal. What I'm actually doing is I have a dry signal, and then I also have a reverb signal, and something with the reverb that I've noticed is that it sometimes dulls the higher end stuff. So I added in a dry chain, kind of fill it just a tiny little bit. So that is pretty much it in terms of this track. Really simple stuff. You don't have to, go crazy to have really nice sounding songs. Shout out to Sora for singing on this track. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to share this with your friends. If you have any questions about music production, you can always reach out to me on my social medias, which you can find those links down in the description. Looking forward to the next video. Take care. Peace.